Last year, I stood beside the operating table and opened the chest of a man who was 67 years old. His arteries looked less like living tissue and more like sections of concrete pipe. He was on 4 separate blood pressure medications. 4. And his pressure was still dangerously high. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't ignoring his own health, he was, in fact, doing every single thing his physicians had told him to do, year after year. And there he was, on my table. Here is what nobody had ever told him, and what I want to tell you today. The answer had been on his kitchen counter the entire time. 7 straightforward things, no new prescription bottles, no side effects to worry about. Just food. Working the way food was always meant to work in the human body. Stay with me because by the time we finish this video together, you will know exactly what to do, and you can begin tonight. I'm Dr. Emily Chen, and I want to share something they don't always have time to explain inside a 15-minute appointment. After 60, your blood pressure does not climb only because of stress or because you used too much salt. Something deeper is happening inside your blood vessels. Picture your arteries as a section of flexible tubing. When you are young, that hose is supple. It flexes. It absorbs sudden pulses of pressure. It moves water through with ease. As the decades go by, the walls of those vessels begin to stiffen. They lose their elasticity. And a rigid hose simply cannot handle pressure the way a flexible one can. That is the moment things start to go wrong. I've spent decades following cardiology research and working alongside surgeons who have looked inside the human body. I have seen arteries belonging to people in their 60s that should have looked like the arteries of someone 20 years older. And every single time I ask the same question, how did it get this far? The honest answer, more often than not, is one word: inflammation. Slow, silent, persistent inflammation in the walls of the blood vessels. You will not feel it. There is no obvious symptom. But day after day, year after year, it stiffens and narrows those vessels, and your heart is forced to push harder and harder to move blood through them. So why does food matter so much? Because what you put on your plate 3 times a day is, biologically speaking, either fueling that inflammation or fighting it. Every single meal is a vote your body is forced to count. Most people don't realize this is happening, and your physician usually doesn't have the time to walk you through it. That is what this video is about. I want to be very clear with you up front. Nothing here is meant to replace your medications. What I'm going to give you is 7 powerful tools that work alongside whatever your physician has prescribed. In the patients I have followed through these strategies, the difference can be substantial, and sometimes it shows up faster than you would expect. Are you ready? Let's begin. Way 1. Eat your vegetables. First, strategy number 1 starts with a question. When you sit down for dinner tonight, what is the first thing your fork reaches for? If you are like most people, it is the bread basket, the rice, the potatoes, whatever happens to be closest. I want you to do something different tonight, something that sounds almost too simple to take seriously. Eat your vegetables first, before anything else on the plate. Every meal. I know what you're about to say. That is the whole trick? Hear me out. When vegetables enter your stomach before anything else, the fiber inside them forms a kind of physical net inside your digestive tract. That net does something genuinely remarkable. It dramatically slows the rate at which sugar from the rest of the meal is released into your bloodstream. Why does that matter for blood pressure? Because every time your blood sugar surges sharply after a meal, your pancreas releases a wave of insulin to manage the spike. That insulin surge causes your blood vessels to constrict, to clench down. Right there at the dinner table, your pressure is climbing, and you have absolutely no awareness it is happening. I have followed patients who changed nothing else. Same foods, same portions, same medications. The only difference was the order: vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. Their post-meal blood pressure readings improved noticeably inside 2 weeks. One retired school teacher in her early 70s told me it was the easiest thing she had ever done for her health. She wasn't exaggerating. So, tonight, before your fork goes anywhere near the rice or the bread, finish the broccoli, the salad, the green beans, then move on. Every bite of vegetables in that opening round is doing real work for your arteries. Way 2. Apple cider vinegar. With meals. Strategy number 2 has been sitting in your pantry for years, possibly doing absolutely nothing for you. Apple cider vinegar. 1 to 2 tablespoons stirred into a glass of water with each meal. I can already feel the skepticism coming through the screen. Honestly, that's a good thing. Healthy skepticism keeps you from falling for nonsense. So let me show you the actual science. The active ingredient in apple cider vinegar is acetic acid. Acetic acid does 2 important things for your blood pressure. First, it improves your insulin sensitivity. Remember that post-meal spike I just described, the one that constricts your vessels? Acetic acid blunts it. Your cells respond more efficiently to the insulin already circulating, so your body doesn't need to dump out as much. Less insulin in circulation means less vessel constriction, which translates directly to lower pressure. Second, and this is the part that genuinely impressed me when I first started looking into the literature, acetic acid stimulates the production of nitric oxide inside the lining of your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is your body's own built-in vasodilator. It tells your arteries to relax and widen. It is, in effect, doing the same job that an entire class of prescription blood pressure drugs is engineered to do, from a bottle that costs about $3. One important caution: never drink it straight. Always dilute it in at least 8 ounces of water and use a straw if you can. Undiluted vinegar can damage tooth enamel and irritate the lining of your esophagus. If you have any history of stomach ulcers or significant acid reflux, talk to your doctor before adding this. But for the average adult over 60, this is one of the simplest, safest additions you can make to a daily routine. 1 glass with breakfast, 1 with lunch, 1 with dinner. Give it 3 weeks and check your numbers. Tell me in the comments, have you ever tried apple cider vinegar for anything? I'm curious what you've heard or tried. Way 3. Beetroot or beet juice. Several times a week. Strategy number 3 is one I rarely see on the typical American dinner plate, even though the research supporting it is some of the strongest in the natural blood pressure literature. Beetroot. Either a roasted beet on a salad several times a week, or roughly 4 to 8 ounces of beet juice 3 to 5 days a week. I know, beets are not glamorous. They stain your hands. They take a while to roast. They look strange. And yet, in study after study, beetroot has produced some of the most reliable, measurable drops in blood pressure of any single dietary intervention. Here is why. Beetroot is one of the densest dietary sources of inorganic nitrate on Earth. When you eat or drink beetroot, bacteria that live on your tongue convert that nitrate into nitrite. Inside your gut and bloodstream, that nitrite is then converted to nitric oxide, the same vasodilator molecule we just talked about with apple cider vinegar. 2 completely different foods, 2 completely different routes, the same downstream effect. Your arteries are signaled to relax and open up. A meta-analysis pooling results from multiple randomized trials found that regular beetroot juice consumption produced average reductions of around 4 to 5 points systolic, with even larger effects in adults whose pressure was already elevated. That is a clinically meaningful number, the kind of result that pharmaceutical companies would gladly take to market. Practical application. Roast a tray of beets on Sunday and eat a portion on salads or alongside dinner 3 times that week. If you prefer, drink 4 to 8 ounces of pure beet juice, no added sugar, first thing in the morning, 3 to 5 days a week. One small caution worth knowing: beets contain natural pigments that may turn your urine pink for a day. Completely harmless. Many patients are briefly alarmed the first time they see it. Now you know. Way 4. Walnuts. 30 minutes before bed strategy. Number 4 asks a question almost no one thinks about. What is happening to your blood pressure while you are asleep? Most people check their pressure in the morning, after coffee, maybe with breakfast. But here is what almost no one realizes about the body after 60. For many older adults, blood pressure does not drop the way it should during the night. It is supposed to fall. It is supposed to give the heart a real break. In a pattern called nocturnal hypertension, it stays elevated, or it actually spikes. While you lie in bed completely unaware, your heart is working overtime, your vessels are under stress, and you wake up tired without ever knowing why. Nocturnal hypertension is one of the most underdiagnosed cardiovascular patterns I see. It is associated with significantly higher risk of stroke and heart attack. And the most concerning part is that your routine daytime readings will not catch it. You can have perfectly acceptable morning numbers and still have a serious problem unfolding through every single night. So, what do walnuts have to do with this? Quite a lot, as it turns out. About 30 grams of walnuts, roughly 14 halves, eaten 30 minutes before bed, has been shown across multiple studies to meaningfully reduce nighttime blood pressure. Why? Walnuts are one of the densest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. They also contain a small amount of melatonin and a useful amount of L-arginine, an amino acid the body uses to manufacture nitric oxide. Together, these three components quietly relax blood vessel walls, lower vascular inflammation, and support the natural overnight pressure dip that ought to be happening anyway. Think of those 14 halves as a soft signal to your cardiovascular system. The day is over, stand down. 30 grams, 14 halves, 30 minutes before bed. It is one of the simplest things I recommend, and one of the most consistently effective. Way 5, 3 cups of hibiscus tea. Daily strategy. Number 5 is a flower, a deep, tart, red flower used in traditional medicine across Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean for centuries, and one that modern cardiology has finally acknowledged. Hibiscus tea. 3 cups a day. If hibiscus tea is unfamiliar, you may know it by another name: sorrel, agua de Jamaica, or simply red tea. The flavor is tart, bright, almost cranberry-like, and the action on blood pressure is genuinely impressive. Here is the science. Hibiscus flowers contain compounds called anthocyanins, along with several specific organic acids unique to the plant. These compounds act on your blood vessels in a way that is, mechanically speaking, strikingly similar to a class of prescription medications called ACE inhibitors. ACE inhibitors are among the most commonly prescribed blood pressure drugs anywhere in the world. They block an enzyme that signals your vessels to constrict. Hibiscus appears to do the same thing, naturally, without the persistent dry cough that drives so many patients off the prescription version. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that drinking hibiscus tea daily for 6 weeks reduced systolic pressure by an average of about 7 points in adults with mildly elevated readings. 7 points is clinically significant. That is the size of effect that gets a cardiologist's attention. 3 cups a day, hot or iced. No added sugar, or as little as possible, because added sugar undoes much of what we are trying to accomplish here. A small spoon of honey is fine if you need sweetness. One important note: if you are already on a prescription ACE inhibitor, please talk to your doctor before adding hibiscus regularly. Stacking a natural ACE inhibitor effect on top of the pharmaceutical one can drop your pressure too low. The goal is balance, not overcorrection. For most people, though, this is a beautiful, easy ritual to add. Tell me below, what is your tea of choice right now? Way 6. A small square of 85% cacao dark chocolate strategy number 6 is the one I genuinely enjoy recommending, because patients are usually surprised to find it on a blood pressure list at all. A small square, about half an ounce, of high cacao dark chocolate, 85% cacao or higher, eaten most afternoons. I can already see the eyebrows raise. Chocolate? On a heart list? Yes, with two important conditions. The cacao content has to be high, at least 85%, and the portion has to stay small, about 15 grams. That is roughly the size of 2 squares from a standard quality dark chocolate bar. The reason has to do with a family of compounds called cocoa flavanols. Flavanols, especially the ones concentrated in minimally processed dark chocolate, have been shown in multiple controlled studies to improve endothelial function, the responsiveness of the inner lining of your blood vessels. Healthier endothelium produces more of the nitric oxide we keep returning to in this video. More nitric oxide means more dilation, more flexibility, and lower pressure. A meta-analysis pooling more than 20 randomized controlled trials reported that regular cocoa flavanol intake produced average reductions of roughly 2 to 3 points systolic and 1 to 2 points diastolic. Modest individually, but stacked on top of the other strategies in this video, the effects compound. The protocol matters. Milk chocolate will not do this. Sweet supermarket dark chocolate at 50 or 60% cacao will not do this. You want 85% cacao or higher, with sugar low on the ingredient list. Half an ounce a day, ideally in the afternoon when blood pressure tends to drift up anyway. It is one of the more pleasant prescriptions I get to write. Way 7. Replace seed oils with Evo and real butter strategy. Number 7 is the one I want you to walk into your kitchen and inspect tonight. Open your cupboard. Look at the cooking oils, because what I am about to tell you may be the single most important point in this video. And it is also the one that food manufacturers have spent enormous amounts of money making sure most people do not fully understand. Most of the cooking oils sold in American supermarkets, canola, soybean, sunflower, corn, cottonseed, are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 in itself is not evil. The body needs some of it. The problem is the ratio. For most of human history, people consumed roughly equal amounts of omega-3 and omega-6. Today, the average American is consuming somewhere between 15 and 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3. That extreme imbalance drives chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation throughout the body, including, exactly as we discussed in the opening, the walls of your blood vessels. On top of the ratio problem, these oils are unstable at high temperatures. When you heat them in a pan, they oxidize and break down into compounds called aldehydes, which are directly toxic to the inner lining of blood vessels. You cannot see this happening. The food does not taste any different, but the damage accumulates with every meal. What should you cook with instead? 2 things. For anything that is not high heat, salad dressings, light sautéing, drizzling over vegetables, extra virgin olive oil. Evo is rich in oleocanthal, a natural anti-inflammatory compound, along with monounsaturated fats that actively support healthy vascular function. Decades of research support this without any meaningful debate. For higher heat cooking, real butter from grass-fed cows. Yes, butter. Margarine is made from the same problematic vegetable oils we are trying to remove. Real, traditional butter, used in reasonable amounts, is far better for the cardiovascular system than the refined seed oils most people are using right now. I know this contradicts what many of you were told 20 or 30 years ago. The butter is bad, vegetable oil is good message was everywhere. I heard it too, but the research has caught up since then. Check your cupboard tonight. You don't have to throw the canola or soybean oil out today. Just stop replacing it when it runs out. Replace with extra virgin olive oil. That single change, sustained over 3 to 6 months, can produce a measurable difference in your inflammatory markers and your blood pressure numbers. I want to pause here for a moment because something important has to be said. You have just heard 7 things. Eat vegetables first. Apple cider vinegar with meals. Beetroot most weeks. Walnuts before bed. Hibiscus tea 3 times a day. a small square of high cacao dark chocolate. Replace the wrong oils, and I can already predict what some of you are thinking. This sounds too simple. If it were that effective, my doctor would have told me already. I understand that reaction completely. I felt it myself early on. But years of paying close attention to cardiology research and watching patients move from worse to better has taught me one stubborn truth. The most powerful interventions are almost never the most complicated ones. The body is not waiting for complexity. It is waiting for the right conditions to heal itself. And here is what I find genuinely striking. Every single one of these 7 strategies works through the same fundamental mechanism: lowering inflammation and improving the flexibility of the inner lining of your blood vessels. 7 different doors, all leading to the same room. The man I told you about at the beginning of this video, the 67-year-old whose vessels had hardened beyond recognition, after his surgery, he and his wife and I sat together for a long conversation. We walked through all of this. He worked through every change carefully and slowly, in conversation with his cardiologist the whole way. 6 months later, when he came back for his follow-up, his cardiologist had reduced him from 4 medications to 2. His inflammatory markers had dropped substantially. His pressure was stable, finally and genuinely stable, for the first time in years. He looked 10 years younger. The first sentence out of his mouth when he walked into my office was, "Why on earth didn't somebody tell me this 15 years ago?" That question stays with me. It is part of why I record videos like this one. The information exists. The research is published. But somewhere between the laboratory, the doctor's office, and the patient sitting at their kitchen table, it gets lost. You are sitting at that kitchen table right now, and you have everything you need to start tonight. Let me bring it together one more time. 7 changes. 1. Eat vegetables first at every meal. 2. 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water with meals. 3. Beetroot or beet juice 3 to 5 times a week. 4. 30 grams of walnuts, 14 halves, 30 minutes before bed. 5. 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily, hot or iced, minimal sugar. 6. Half an ounce of 85% cacao dark chocolate most afternoons. 7. Replace your seed oils with extra virgin olive oil and real butter. Now, here is what I want you to do before you click away from this video. Pick exactly 1. Not all 7. 1. The one that feels easiest for you to start tonight. Maybe it's the vegetables first habit at dinner. Maybe it's ordering hibiscus tea. Maybe it's checking the oils in your cupboard. Just 1. Begin there. Sustainable change does not come from doing everything at once and burning out by next week. It comes from one small decision repeated until it disappears into ordinary life. Tell me in the comments which of the 7 you are going to try first. I read them. If this video helped you or someone you love, please share it. There are people in your life right now who need exactly this information and have no idea it exists. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Every week, I bring you honest, evidence-informed information that I wish every patient walked into a medical appointment already knowing. Take care of your heart. It has been working for you every single minute of your life without ever asking for anything in return. It deserves this. One last thing, and this is important. Everything I have shared today is general information based on current research and clinical experience. It is not a replacement for your personal medical care. Please do not stop or reduce any medication your doctor has prescribed without speaking to them first. Bring this video to your next appointment. Have the conversation. Your physician is your partner in this, and these 7 strategies work best when they work alongside proper medical supervision.